Good morning. For those of you who have never heard me before, let me introduce myself as the chairman of the Child Growth Foundation, which was set up in 1977 in order to look after children who failed physically to grow. In 1994, I was then asked by the would-be president of the Royal College of Pediatrics to undertake a championship in this country of childhood obesity because there was no such organization around. And therefore, I have been, in one way or another, 34 years looking at growth and the collective failure in this country to do anything serious about it. And of course, that collective failure is even more pronounced when you look back on the record of the last 13 years of the Labour administration, and you just have to see how virtually very little has been done. My job sheet today reads like this: how will the new coalition government tackle obesity? The dramatically received US program, Solving the Problem of Childhood Obesity Within a Generation, contains many strategies that the UK could adopt. Not my preferred title. My preferred title was, Is There Life After Start for Life? But the organizers felt that that was a little much to hit you with at 9:50 in the morning. But definitely there is a challenge there for the government to do something within the next 5 years, which is going to be effective. But will the government? My guess is that they are still thinking about it. The fact that I'm here instead of the lovely Alison Hardy, who will be talking to you about changing behavior, which was the planned, was pulled by the government because the government is still in purdah. Now, I have to tell you that for the government to pull purdah at this point of time is in itself very significant. Purdah is the description of no government person being allowed to speak about any subject during the course of a general election until the election has been taken place and the new government has been announced. Well, that was a couple of weeks ago, and purdah still reigns in the Department of Health. Sneaky as I may be, I then spent half of yesterday down at the Department of Health to try and find out exactly what they had in mind. And I have to tell you, I couldn't get very much. They were very tight-lipped. But the expression down there has to be prevention, prevention, prevention. Not only was I assured that Lansley, the health minister, was going to take a very active interest in public health and prevention, and he was going to be leaning on Anne Milton to actually pull in the goods. This is to be welcomed because the last two ministers for public health that we have weren't very good at their job, and furthermore, their good electors decided they weren't very good at being MPs either, and so both lost their seats on May the 6th. Praise be for that. The American document, Michelle Obama's document, is looking wholeheartedly at prevention. It's a beautifully written, very easy to read document, and it should be required reading for all of you. In a half hour, I can only just touch on some of the headlines, and I warn you as I do, I may upset you. But that, after all, is the purpose of a keynote address, to upset people, and it kind of rumbles on through the day. But if you are upset, please let me assure you that it is in no way personal. If you take it personally, then I will look forward to the bonding session, which will set the matter straight. Will the US strategy succeed? I think it may, because within a week of its publication, two very significant pledges have been made, and its champion, Michelle Obama, has let everybody in the US know that she means business. I have to tell you that it does help slightly to have your husband as the president. You can imagine 2 a.m. in the White House, a good jab in the ribs. Where is my $20 million for my scheme, Barack? Get it sorted by breakfast. Must have a dramatic effect. Michelle Obama and the plan that the Americans have has been dedicated as her plan. has that unique quality about it, is that it is motivated from the heart, not off a sheet of paper. That started in South Chicago when she and her husband were raising their 2 young children, and a pediatrician in America, the local family health doctor in the United Kingdom, took her on one side and said, look, I'm worried about your 2 daughters. I think they're getting a bit on the chubby side. And it was like a wake-up call to Michelle. And she went home with her children and she stripped everything out of the refrigerator and she junked all the stuff which was junk and she replaced it with good food. And she said, that is going to be my plan. And that is the plan, if we ever get to the White House, that I am going to drive for the people of America. The strategy started during the campaign trail. And once she got into the White House, she spent a full year looking around her, finding out what had to be done before she announced in December to the United States Conference of Mayors in Washington, D.C., that she would launch Let's Move. Let's Move is her challenge for the physical side of obesity. And I won't be talking too much about that because you have Gavin, excellent speaker on the whole of fitness. But for those of you who have fitness in mind, let me tell you that in her document there is quite a lot on the physical activity. In February, the president drew together 10 US State Departments right across the board. And he sat them down and he said, you in 90 days will come up with a strategy which will last for a generation. Because the generation was the time span in which the Americans decided it would take to achieve the solution to obesity. Not any quick fixes like we've had in this country. In 2010, we will have all our children down to shape, which was an impossibility. I also believe maybe that 2020, unless that is changed by Andrew Lansley and his colleagues, will also be an impossibility. I think that we've got to wait probably to 25 to 30 before we really see a significant prospect. Remember, obesity is not just an overnight thing which we are now suffering. Obesity has been around for 40 years. The first obesity clinic in London was in 1975, and researchers have been telling the government from that moment on that we had a problem in our hands. And successive governments have done very little. They put it as an objective in their various white papers, and then they have gone off and had coffee and forgotten about the whole thing. We have allowed obesity to happen, and I will be coming on to that in a little more detail later. I have to say that reading between the lines, the Americans are not very impressed what the British have done, even though we have been reliably informed by the Department of Health in recent months that when they went to Washington to spell out the Change for Life program, the White House was mightily impressed. The White House is so impressed that there is not one mention of what the British strategy has been in its entire document. I think that is perhaps a comment by itself. So what should we learn from it? As I've said, I can't summarize the document, but I will pick out 1 or 2 headlines. So are your pencils ready? Let's get ready for a start. Within a week of the document being published by this fiery lady, Michelle Obama, the American food and drink industry pledged that there would be 1 trillion calories taken out of the American food process and soda system within 2 years. Reformulation at a speed which has never been equaled, and actually throws the lie down to the British industry, who says it takes a long time. If the Americans can do it in 2 years to remove 1 trillion calories, then surely we should be able to do something of the same ourselves. That's not the end of it.